Good morning and welcome to Daily Briefing. I'm Alex.
And I'm Sarah. July 15th, 2026.
We've got a massive morning ahead, starting with a major shift in the Middle East as the U.S. freezes over $100 million in crypto assets, plus some shaky economic news out of China that's sending ripples through global markets. It's a beautiful morning in Parker, Colorado, with clear skies and a high of 90 degrees, though it's a crisp 63 right now with a bit of a breeze.
That sounds like perfect pool weather, but the news is definitely heating up. Let's get into it.
Starting with global news, the U.S. government has just frozen $131 million in crypto assets linked to Iran. This is a direct response to rising tensions in the Middle East, and it really highlights how digital assets are becoming the new frontier for international sanctions.
It's a massive amount of capital, Alex. It shows the U.S. is getting serious about tracking these illicit financial flows on the blockchain, which is often harder to police than traditional banking.
Exactly. And it's a warning shot to anyone trying to bypass the global financial system. It's not just about the money. It's about the strategy of using digital tools to exert pressure where traditional diplomacy might be failing.
I wonder how much of this is a test case for future enforcement actions. If they can effectively trace and freeze this much, it changes the calculus for every bad actor using decentralized finance.
Moving over to China, their economic growth has slowed to 4.3% in the second quarter, which officially misses Beijing's annual target.
That is a significant miss, especially when you consider the weak domestic demand they've been struggling with for months. Plus, the instability in the Middle East is pushing global oil prices up, and that's a massive tax on a manufacturing economy like China's.
It's a double whammy. When your own consumers aren't spending and your energy costs are spiking because of external conflicts, there's nowhere to hide.
Beijing is going to be under a lot of pressure to stimulate the economy, but their options are getting thinner by the day.
In Ukraine, the strategy is shifting toward isolating the Crimea Peninsula by pounding Russian naval vessels.
It's a brutal, high-stakes campaign, but disabling those supply lines is the only way to actually weaken the Russian logistics in the southern theater.
We're seeing a real focus on logistics over direct ground assaults lately. If they can cut off the peninsula, the entire Russian position in the south becomes untenable.
It's a classic military maneuver, but executing it against a naval power is incredibly difficult.
Turning to the humanitarian situation, we're seeing reports out of Gaza detailing a particularly bloody week with strikes hitting hospitals and areas where children are gathered.
It's devastating to see reports like that, and the international condemnation is reaching a fever pitch. There's really no way to sugarcoat the impact this is having on the civilian population.
The humanitarian crisis is just deepening, and it's putting immense pressure on global leaders to find a path towards ceasefire.
It feels like the diplomatic window is closing, and the tragedy on the ground is only getting worse. When we come back, we'll see how these international tensions are impacting the markets.
Let's look at the India and United Kingdom trade landscape, starting with the new Double Contributions Convention.
It's a big deal for expats, but the catch is that it isn't applicable to anyone working in the United Kingdom before today, July 15th.
That's going to be a headache for thousands of people who are hoping for some immediate relief from dual Social Security contributions.
Definitely, it's a classic case of the fine print dictating your financial planning for the year.
On a brighter note, Prime Minister Modi says the new Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement is going to be a huge win for Indian farmers and small businesses.
It's a massive market opening, and we're already seeing companies like Wellspun Living gearing up to scale their operations to meet the new demand.
Plus, for the average shopper, this could mean cheaper Scotch whiskey and better access to high-end textiles.
I think the Scotch drinkers will be the happiest group in the country today. Coming up, we've got a massive shakeup in the fintech world.
Let's talk markets, and the biggest story is Stripe launching a $53 billion bid to acquire PayPal.
That is an absolute monster of a deal. Bringing in a private equity partner like Advent International shows they're serious about closing this and completely reshaping the fintech landscape.
If this goes through, it's going to be the dominant player in digital payments. It's hard to imagine a world where these two aren't the primary infrastructure for almost every online transaction.
It's going to trigger some intense antitrust scrutiny, though. You can't just merge two of the biggest payment processors without the regulators taking a very long look.
Switching to the U.S. economy, the June Consumer Price Index fell by 0.4%, which was a bigger drop than anyone expected.
That is huge news for the Federal Reserve. It's going to take a lot of the pressure off them to keep hiking interest rates.
It's a clear sign that inflation is cooling, and the market is already reacting with a sigh of relief.
It changes the whole narrative for the rest of the year. If the data keeps trending this way, we might see a pivot sooner than the analysts predicted.
In the world of crypto security, a study of 85 browser extensions found that they are leaking user addresses and tracking people across websites.
That is a major privacy red flag. People think their wallet is a secure vault, but if your browser extension is leaking your address, you're basically painting a target on your back for anyone who wants to track your financial history.
It's a reminder that convenience often comes at the cost of security.
Definitely. Always check those permissions before you install anything.
Looking ahead to next year, the United Kingdom plans to issue the first G7 digital sovereign bond by early 2027.
Putting government debt on a blockchain is a bold move. They're using a regulatory sandbox to test it, which is the right way to handle something this experimental.
If it works, it could drastically reduce settlement times and costs for the entire bond market.
It's a glimpse into the future of sovereign debt.
Also, Visa and MasterCard are backing the X402 standard to help AI agents make payments autonomously.
That is a massive step toward integrating AI into the real economy. It's not just a chatbot anymore. It's an agent that can actually move money.
It's the next evolution of the internet economy, and the big players are clearly scrambling to set the standard.
Speaking of standards, the US and the United Kingdom are working to align their rules for tokenized finance.
It's about reducing the friction between the world's two biggest financial hubs.
It makes sense. You can't have a global digital asset market if every country has different rules. When we come back, we'll dive into the latest security nightmares in the tech sector.
On the tech side, we've got a series of security alerts that developers need to take seriously.
First, there's a flaw in the cursor code editor that lets malicious repositories execute code on Windows systems.
That's a nightmare scenario for any dev. You just open a repo, and suddenly your SSH keys and cloud credentials are at risk.
It's a reminder to be incredibly careful about what you pull down from the internet.
Then we have SonicWall confirming that two zero-day vulnerabilities in their appliances are being actively exploited.
One of them actually lets attackers run admin commands, which is about as bad as it gets for enterprise security.
If you're running a SonicWall device, you need to patch that yesterday.
And if that wasn't enough, Microsoft just dropped a record-breaking patch for 622 vulnerabilities.
622? That is an insane number to manage in one cycle.
It includes 2 0 days that are already being exploited, so it's not just routine maintenance.
It's a full-time job just keeping your systems patched these days.
Speaking of internal struggles, OpenAI employees are actually funding a super PAC to push for stricter regulation of their own industry.
That is incredibly ironic, but it highlights the real divide inside these labs between the people building the tech and the people concerned about the pace of it.
It's a sign that the industry is starting to fracture over the safety debate.
Moving to space, the James Webb Telescope found these tiny red dots that astronomers now think might be black hole stars.
It's a fascinating theory that these things are just young black holes wrapped in such dense gas that they look like compact galaxies.
It completely changes how we think about the early universe.
It's always the little things that end up being the biggest discoveries.
Anthropic is also making waves with a new way to interpret how AI models reason internally.
Transparency in AI is the holy grail right now. If we can actually see how these models think, we can make them much safer and more reliable.
It's a massive leap forward for the explainability of these systems.
Finally, we got a supply chain attack involving compromised async API packages on the NPM repository.
It's yet another reminder of how vulnerable the entire software ecosystem is to these third-party dependencies.
You have to audit everything, even the small stuff. Coming up, we'll wrap things up with a look at the latest in sports and culture.
Wrapping up with sports and culture, Suni Lee is back in the gym.
That is huge news for the gymnastics world. She's already training for the 2028 Los Angeles Olympics.
2 years is a long time, but for someone of her caliber, it's the perfect runway to build back up to peak form.
The U.S. team just got a massive boost.
In Hollywood, the Writers Guild is suing to block the Paramount and Warner Brothers Discovery merger.
It's a massive legal challenge that could bring the whole consolidation trend to a screeching halt.
The industry is already jittery, and this is just adding more uncertainty to the mix.
Speaking of jittery, the live-action Moana remake is projected to lose at least $100 million.
That's a tough pill for Disney to swallow. It might finally force them to rethink the whole live-action remake strategy.
Sometimes a classic is better left alone.
Finally, Spain is in the World Cup final, and the manager says they've recaptured the spirit of their 2010 team.
You can see it on the pitch. The chemistry is just different this time around.
It's going to be an incredible final.
It's been a packed morning, but that's the reality of a fast-moving world.
Today's takeaway is that whether it's in finance, tech, or geopolitics, the old rules are being rewritten in real time.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you tomorrow.
Take care, everyone.